Hey, how goes it? Kenn Bosak, here to talk about Litecoin and the Litecoin accessories. And today I'm here with Charlie Lee, the founder and creator of Litecoin. Charlie Lee, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
I know this is unnecessary, but for the new people coming in every day, could you please just explain who you are, maybe your origin story of how you got into Bitcoin and how that led you to
No
become.
sound.
Oh, no sound.
I need headphones.
Oh, okay. How that led you to
What's
be
up?
the creator of Litecoin. Sorry. Every,
Origin story, as if I'm a
Some people say
superhero or
no
something.
sound, but some people are. I
Um,
need headphones. I'm
you hear
so
me?
sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry. We're having audio difficulties. I don't have extra headphones.
For
Some
me or
people,
for?
I don't know, some people in the chat. All right, I think we're okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, if you could just introduce yourself, let people know your origin story of how you got into Bitcoin and how that led you to become the creator of Litecoin.
Sure. So I found out about Bitcoin in 2011. I think around April 2011, from a Silk Road article about Silk Road buying drugs and using Bitcoin. And I really got hooked in on Bitcoin. Um, the fact that I think that it's kind of like a better form of gold. It's kind of what almost like perfect money. So really got into it and started doing like all sorts of things related to Bitcoin, mining, built like mining rigs, bought Bitcoin, played around with it, played around with the code. And in October of 2011, I created Litecoin, um, just playing around with the code more for fun. And then it really grew into something that grew into what it is today, totally unexpected. At that point, when I created Litecoin, I was still working at Google. And in 2013, I decided to go all in and join Coinbase as one of the early employees and kind of helped Coinbase grew into a powerhouse it is today. Um, and then this year, I quit Coinbase and started focusing on Litecoin. So that's pretty much it.
So, why do you keep working to improve Litecoin? Why not just retire like Satoshi Nakamoto?
Well, we don't know if Satoshi retired, right?
It's a good
He
point.
might be still. I have a feeling he's still working on Bitcoin as another like name, right? Another anonymous person, or even non-anonymous. I don't know.
Well, I think that's
Um,
more or less kind of what I meant. Like, Satoshi Nakamoto is anonymous, but, like, do you have any concerns about being a known creator of a cryptocurrency that is competing with the US dollar for currency, as a currency?
um, Not that concerned. Well, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it after like anymore. Satoshi started like he was anonymous from the start, from the get-go. He was smart to do that. I wasn't. I didn't expect Litecoin to be anything special, so I didn't stay anonymous. I was never anonymous. So um yeah, and I don't think the governments will come after me. They make like Satoshi. I think Satoshi is just a bit too cautious. But I guess it's good for him. Um, yeah, so I'm not that worried in that aspect.
Gotcha. All right. So, some people will say, Bitcoin's centralized in the aspect of mining. A lot of people will argue that Litecoin can be considered centralized because the creator is known and you could be, coerced by a government. So, how do we know you're not a pod person?
What do you mean by a pod person?
How do we know that, you haven't been compromised? You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the ways some people will argue that, Litecoin could be considered centralized.
Well, it's more centralized because the creator because I'm around and
Mhm.
I have like a lot of influence, right? So I could push through my vision and kind of take Litecoin in direction I feel like is the right path. So in that sense, it's more centralized, and um, I, I don't think there's any issue or concern about governments like controlling me, because if I do something that the community doesn't like, right, they
Mhm.
can reject what I do. So like if I started adding if I push for adding like KYC on the blockchain, and make like every address be attached to a personally identified like information, and people don't like that, then they will reject that change. And if I ever do something like that, it will be obvious that I'm compromised.
Excellent answer, man. That's kind of how I explain it. Now, with ASIC mining come into Litecoin now, is that competing with Bitcoin? And what does ASIC mining mean for Litecoin's future?
Um, well, I think for Litecoin, ASIC mining is kind of inevitable, right? For most any coin, if it becomes uh, worth something, then people will create ASICs for it, right? Because the idea is that ASIC is just something a computer that only does one specific task, which is mining Bitcoin or mining Litecoin. And of course, a computer that only does one specific task is going to be more efficient at doing it than a general computer or GPU. So if it becomes worth it, then people will create ASIC miners. The only thing against, like, the only way you can combat that is if you do a hard fork and change your algorithm every like 6 months or a year, so that no one would do it. Or if you're like Ethereum, where there's always this threat of proof of stake, so people won't invest the resources to create an ASIC for it because you won't it won't be profitable after a while if they switch to proof of stake.
Awesome.
I think ASIC in general is not that bad of a thing. It's good to have just a lot of hash rate protecting your coin. The downside with ASIC, as we're seeing with Bitcoin and to a certain degree Litecoin, is that it encourages a monopoly kind of behavior in terms of ASIC manufacturers, because you have, like with Bitcoin, you see like Bitmain creating the Antminer, like dominating the scene because they're able to outcompete everyone and kind of starve the competition. But I think over time, mining will be more commoditized, and you'll have like bigger players coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if people like AMD or Intel come into like Bitcoin mining and start creating miners. I think over time it's going to be fine.
Now, what is your thoughts on patents in blockchain technology and how that could affect the future of cryptocurrencies, especially things like Bitcoin?
Well, a lot of this patent talk is just FUD. Like people were talking about like Blockstream having. Um, I mean, Bitcoin, Litecoin, it's like a decentralized cryptocurrency. There's no one to sue, right? Like people will develop the code and people will run the code. And even if you have a patent on something that the code is using, there's no one to sue. You can't like stop it, right? It's just the same reason why Bitcoin, Litecoin can't be stopped by governments. It's just it's out there. The genie is out of the bottle. You just put it back in.
Yeah, Pandora's box is open for sure.
Yeah.
Will Litecoin ever hard fork? Because I would love to get some airdrops like L Cash.
Um. Yeah. Probably. It'll probably hard fork. If we need to.
Do you think
If we need to
what could
increase.
make what yeah, but what could bring that to happen if anything?
If we ever need to increase the block size, or the block weight, we may need to hard fork. Um, if you want to add something that can only be done with a hard fork, if we want to add certain like privacy tech into Litecoin that requires a hard fork, we could potentially do that. Um, and it's actually easier to hard fork Litecoin and other coins when compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like the most decentralized coin, most like widespread. So that's why it's like so hard to hard fork Bitcoin, because you need to get consensus. And unlike Bitcoin, Litecoin, I'm around. So if I want to push for a hard fork, it'll be easier. So in that sense, Litecoin is more centralized, and it's good and bad, right? It's good where if you can get stuff done, and it's bad because it's centralized, right? It's um, kind of like democracy is inefficient. It's much more efficient to have a benevolent dictator than to have a democracy. But democracy is good, right? It's more decentralized
Yeah, it's a
in that
double-edged
sense.
sword for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, speaking of
Yeah.
Lcash, do you think Bcash will have a purpose long term when Bitcoin has met mainstream adoption?
Um, I mean, Bcash is kind of fighting the same. It's kind of in the same arena as like Litecoin or all these other altcoins, right? Kind of fighting for mind share as an alternative to Bitcoin. So Bcash the wants to be cash, right? It wants to be kind of like what Litecoin, one position Litecoin, like the payment coin, as opposed to where Bitcoin is good for store value. Fees are higher. You can still do Bitcoin on chain. You just have to pay the fees because with Bitcoin you get the world's most secure and decentralized, uncensorable payment, right? And that um, that like power required is going to be it's going to cost you, right? Like for if you're going to make a coffee purchase, you don't need the security or the uncensorability of Bitcoin, right? Who cares if your coffee purchase is on a centralized network? Like Starbucks has its own coin, you can be using that. Why would you need Bitcoin to do that?
Right, exactly. That's a good point. Like you said, how Bcash is competing with things like Litecoin, so are things like Dash. Now, how would you compare Litecoin to Dash in the way that, Litecoin, it could learn from Dash, or could Dash learn from Litecoin? How is Litecoin better at being a daily money, compared to something like Dash?
Um, so Litecoin, the good thing about Litecoin is it's closer to Bitcoin. It like my I position it to try to like keep it as close to Bitcoin as possible. So it can much more easily get all the improvements that go into Bitcoin. Um, and it's also um, yeah, it's less Dash. The g- the great thing about Dash is they have a huge marketing arm, I guess, so to speak. They have because they have block rewards. Every block, I think 10% of it is sent to their foundation, and currently it's a lot of money. And they every month they have like millions of dollars they can spend on marketing. So that definitely helps them a lot. Also makes it more centralized. So for Litecoin, it's more of like a grassroots efforts. Like we don't have that much money. We have the Litecoin Foundation, and we're raising funds. We're trying to get donations, selling merchandises, but we're not like making millions of dollars every month. So we expect the community to kind of similar to what how the Bitcoin community has helped Bitcoin kind of become more well known and more mainstream. I hope the Litecoin community will do the same for Litecoin.
Now, the Litecoin Foundation, is there anything in particular that they're focused on to improve Litecoin or to bring value to the cryptocurrency?
The first goal for the Litecoin Foundation is to fund development. So to hire developers to work on Litecoin and Bitcoin. Um, we want to kind of push for the whole cryptocurrency space. So that's what we're doing. We've hired a few developers, and we'll hire more.
Is there anything that you have
Yeah.
planned for 2018 that you think will strongly bring value to the coin? Any type of adoption use cases or anything that you could think of?
Yeah. Like the one like a few things, right? One is Lightning Network. That's one thing that I'm personally very excited about. Lightning Network on Bitcoin and Litecoin, and also cross-chain atomic swaps to be able to convert from Bitcoin to Litecoin instantaneously without a third party. Um, and that's kind of like where I see things going moving forward. The other thing that I'm very excited about is just adding more privacy, more fungibility to Litecoin. So fungibility is one of the kind of feature of money that is missing from Bitcoin and Litecoin. It's one of the only like flaws I would say that Bitcoin has in terms of like money. Right, Bitcoin is almost like perfect money except for the fact that there's history attached to each coin, so people can censor or block, uh, or I should say like they can like track where the coin came from and make a decision on whether the payment is good or bad. So, for example, like you hear a story about Coinbase locking down accounts, shutting down accounts because someone sent money or Bitcoin straight from their darknet market wallet to Coinbase, and then Coinbase saw that and said, like, due to U.S. regulations, we cannot support you or we cannot keep this account open. And there's nothing Coinbase can like. Coinbase has their hands tied behind their back too, right? They have to follow the KYC AML laws. So fungibility is important in that aspect. I think like money to be good money, you can't really you don't have to you shouldn't have to worry about where your money has been, right? Like a lot of people actually, I hear stories of people account getting shut down even though they personally didn't touch um, like darknet markets, but it's just that the history of the coin happened to touch it, and Coinbase was a little bit too conservative in that aspect. So yeah, nowadays when you're spending Bitcoin or Litecoin, you have to like think twice before you send, right? If you send coins to someone that knows who you are and then they track your coin and find out that you have a lot of coins, um, then that's something you may not want people to know. So that's something that I think is really important, solving this fungibility issue. And
Very
something like
important.
confidential transaction is pretty exciting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to touch on a couple of those things there. If you could please explain Lightning Network and its purpose and why it's so important.
Yeah. So, mm, Lightning Network. So the easy way to kind of think about that is right now, um, all the transactions are on the blockchain. So Lightning Network is something that's considered like a second layer solution where transactions are not Lightning on the Lightning Network transactions are not all on the blockchain. They get aggregated into um, a few transactions that settle on the blockchain. So some way to think about it is for Lightning Network, I create a payment channel between you and I. Let's say I push 10 Litecoins to this payment channel. And the the payment channel basically there's a state. The initial state is I have 10 Litecoins, you have zero. And at any moment in time, I can say I want to push X number of coins to you. I can push 2 coins to you. Push 2 coins to you, then I have eight and you have two. And this action of pushing 2 coins to you is not a Bitcoin or it's not a Litecoin transaction on chain. It's a Lightning Network transaction, but it's backed by a transaction. So at any point in time, we can close this channel, and I will get my eight Litecoins, and you'll get your two Litecoins. But if we don't close this channel, I can continue to push more Litecoins to you, or you can push Litecoins to me. But at any moment in time, we can decide to close the channel, and we each get the Litecoins like out of the kind of get back onto the chain. So that's just one payment channel. Lightning Network is just a lot of these payment channels open in such a way where I'm connected to you via multiple hops. So because I have a payment channel open to Bob and he has a payment channel open to Sue and Sue has a payment channel open to you, I can push money through to Bob and Sue to get to you and vice versa. So that's kind of what Lightning Network is.
Thank you. So another one I wanted to touch on a little bit was atomic swaps. Now, do you think that they threaten exchanges and services like Changely or Shapeshift? And do you think that those services may lobby against those improvements of the blockchain?
Um, I think decentralized exchanges will are coming, but um, I don't think they're sort of a threat to centralized exchanges, but they won't replace centralized exchanges because mm, like anything else, decentralization comes with a cost, right? Decentralized exchanges won't be as fast, right? For like exchanges right now, a lot of people expect like really quick turnaround, like really fast execution of trades. So I don't, in terms of throughput, I don't think decentralized exchanges will ever be able to be as good as centralized exchanges, just because of the fact that it's decentralized. Um, so there will still be centralized exchanges, but for the most part, you may not need to use centralized exchanges if you're not doing like trading. If you just want to convert your Bitcoin to Litecoin, you don't have to use. um, an exchange like GDAX or any other exchange, right? You can just use a Lightning Network to actually do the conversion. So people who are actually doing like day trading, who are actively trading, will still use centralized exchanges. But for most people, they probably don't need to anymore.
Now, Litecoin could host ICOs, right? Now, is there anything in particular that you may be working on and, may launch your, the first ICO on the Litecoin blockchain? Is there anything in the works?
Um, yeah, so Omni layer on Bitcoin has released like a beta of their Litecoin, Omni on Litecoin. So soon you'll be able to do kind of do the Omni tokens on Litecoin, similar to how you have them on Bitcoin. So, and I also hear that Tether is also going to be supporting the Litecoin network in addition to the Bitcoin network. So things like that is moving forward. Like people can and will can create tokens on the Litecoin network, and can do ICOs on Litecoin. Um, I think I don't know if that's going to be popular. A lot of the ICOs on the Ethereum network. The reason why they're doing it on the Ethereum network is because the Ethereum network is more in terms of smart contract capabilities, more powerful because you can write smart contracts on Ether, and um, a lot of the ICOs are promising that these tokens will have a lot more capabilities in the future. So the fact that it's on the Ethereum network gives them like this endless possibility of it becoming a lot more powerful. Most of them won't actually go through with it and actually make the token any useful. It's just a way to raise funds and just kind of BS around the fact that it's going to be better. So I think people will still choose to launch ICOs on Ethereum because of that. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it does, definitely. It totally makes sense. I was just wondering if you were planning on launching the first Litecoin ICO and if there was any particular project you were working on for that.
No, I don't really like ICOs.
All right, cool, fair enough. What's the ETA on a .ltc? When can I get my domain name and stop giving people that really long, complicated Litecoin public address?
Hmm. Um, so I mean, there's like you can have like centralized services that would um, translate a kind of a readable address to a more to the kind of the normal Litecoin address, right? So anyone can do that, right? Anyone can create a
Like a
centralized
centralized
service
smart
that would do that.
contract.
Well, you don't really need a smart contract. You just need like a mapping, right? You want like um, Kenn Bosak dot LTC is maps to the address L something something something, right? So anybody can do that,
I just
right?
feel like as
So
soon as you said it, somebody stole KennBosak.ltc now.
I think I think what you're getting at is you want being able to send like Litecoin to be less to be simpler, right? You want to be able to send Litecoin to email addresses to
Hmm.
so like not have to worry about some long address format that's hard to type, right? So um, I think in the base like protocol layer for Litecoin, it's always going to be this like the Litecoin address, right? Uh, People can build services on top of it to make it easier, right? For example, like Coinbase has a solution where you can send
Yeah.
Litecoin Bitcoin to email addresses. So that's their solution. It's centralized, but it works really well, right? And for that kind of stuff, you don't really need it to be decentralized. You don't need to be on the protocol level. It can be like on top of that.
Hmm.
So something like Lightning Network, they're coming out with their own address format, right? In the future, I can see a situation where you're sending money. If I'm sending Litecoins to you, I don't really care if it actually is through Lightning Network or if it's on chain. All I care about is that it gets sent to you, right? So eventually, the UI has to be built, has to be simplified in such a way that you're just sending money. You don't really care about the details.
That's one of my favorite features about Coinbase is I try to tell people that if you wanted to send me something, it doesn't matter what wallet you click on, just my email address, kennbosak@gmail.com, and Coinbase knows where to send the funds.
Yeah,
Now, you worked at Coinbase for a while, and I would
yeah.
assume that that really, really helped Litecoin get listed. Now, since you may be our inside guy right now, and you're not really tied up because you don't work there anymore, do you have any, like, hints at what might be getting listed next, or do you have anything that you would like to see get listed and why?
Um, well, first of all, it it was really hard to get Litecoin listed on Coinbase. It wasn't just the fact that I worked there; I got Litecoin listed. I actually had to. It actually was harder because I worked there. Because
I can see that.
when when I tried to tell people why we should list Litecoin, it would sound like I'm biased, right? I also go out of my way to not um, kind of be the decision maker, right? I'm not there to just push it because it benefits me, right? We only listed Litecoin because it was actually a good business decision. Um, Litecoin is making Coinbase a lot of money today, and that's why they listed Litecoin, not because I worked there and it made me money, right? Um, so your question is what do you what I think Coinbase will list next?
Or yeah, what you think they will, or what you would like to. You don't have to say what you know they will, but what do you think, or what
Yeah.
would you like?
Um, so I don't know what they would do, but I've actually made recommendations to Coinbase about what they should list. So for one, I think GDAX, the exchange, could list a lot more tokens,
Yep.
a lot more coins. So for example, like Ethereum Classic, right? ETC. It's something that Coinbase already supported by supporting withdrawals, and it's actually very easy for them to add ETC to GDAX. So and there's obviously demand for it. So it's kind of a no-brainer that they should actually just list ETC and start trading ETC. It will, yeah. And I think when they do support like Bcash, they should probably just list Bcash on GDAX also. And whether or not they would list ETC and Bcash on Coinbase is another thing, right?
Hmm.
Because then it gets more confusing. So that's one of the things that was so hard for me to convince them. Right. So Ethereum actually helped get people over that hump and figure out that people actually want to buy and sell Ethereum or Ether on Coinbase. And it was after we launched Ether on Coinbase, it became very obvious that there's definitely demand for that, and there's no confusion. So that helped actually getting Litecoin on Coinbase. Um, but something like Ethereum Classic and like Bcash is going to cause a lot of confusion, especially if they insist on calling it Bitcoin Cash. I think that's gonna be crazy. With the same like address format and very similar name, it's
People are
gonna
already losing a lot of money accidentally sending funds to wrong wallets because of that reason.
yeah. So I think like Bcash is actually a better name for that
Hmm.
to separate themselves. But for whatever reason, the supporters of Bitcoin Cash are really hate the name Bcash because it makes it not Bitcoin, which is totally against their philosophy. Right? They think they're the rightful Bitcoin, rightful heir to Bitcoin, so to speak.
They're confused. They'll wake up. Now, speaking of Coinbase, did you know that, at the time, or did you have any ideas that Coinbase custody was coming out? And, what are your thoughts on the effects that it could have on both markets, traditional and crypto?
Um, when I was there, I mean, we talked about it a bit, like just not too much. I mean, the product wasn't even like I wasn't familiar with the the product, so that was after I left, and it made perfect sense why
Hmm.
Coinbase would release something like this to make it easy for institutions to hold cryptocurrency and not having to worry about security, storing the coins and everything. Because Coinbase has done a lot of it's kind of Coinbase's bread and butter, like storing coins and securing them. Um, and we spent a lot of resources on that and doing a really good job at it. So it makes sense for Coinbase to productize that and sell it to institutions who actually need something like that.
Yeah, with $100,000 sign up fee and a $10 million minimum investment.
Is
Uh,
that the
yeah,
requirements? I actually didn't read about it. Yeah.
yeah. So it makes me wish I had it so I could get that 24/7 direct support that it comes with. You get like
Hmm.
John from Coinbase is like your financial advisor and he oversees your, portfolio. I really wish Coinbase would step up a little bit on that support for the everyday person. But now that they launched custody, I do see why and where they are focusing all of their support. Oh, I lost Charlie. Let's see if we can get him back. Sorry about that, everybody. So yeah, if that is the end of the show, hopefully he can dial back in. Please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Drops.
Sorry,
Oh no, great, you're back. I didn't know what happened.
I hit the wrong button.
It's awesome. All right, so let's just keep it moving here. We were speaking about the hard forks and all these, Bcash and Bitcoin Gold and all that. Will the hard forks ever end? And what kind of ramification could these hard forks have on Bitcoin in the long term? Like, is it just, it's going to be a nothing, or is this going to be a major problem?
I think the hard forks will become there'll be less and less of them. So like the first one, Bcash is really popular. Like B Gold is not as popular. It's less. It's worth less. If you like, the next one will be worth even less than what how much B Gold is worth. It's kind of like the 2018 will probably be a year of the hard forks, where people would just keep on trying to hard fork Bitcoin and create value that way. And it'll just become less and less valuable each successive one. Um, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Now, I want to get into a little bit of a political thing here now. The war on paper money. Do you think it's fueling the cryptocurrency revolution, or is it just a setup for a centralized digital currency?
Um, that's a good question. I think it's inevitable
Yes.
that governments will release their own digital currency, like kind of a cryptocurrency backed by the government's fiat money. So I think that's going to happen very soon. I think so, but it won't like it's a totally different product than Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? It's still like fiat, even though it's digital and potentially even crypto, where transactions could potentially even be public or likely be public. But it's still money that can be printed by governments as much as they want. So yeah, what's I forgot what your question was.
It's all right. Let's move on here. I wanted to talk a little bit about being a Twitter celebrity and how does it feel? Like, do you intentionally try not to pump Litecoin? Because a lot of people look to you on Twitter for positive information, and I think that they try to request or almost damn near demand it on an hourly basis. Do you feel like you have to try to not do that, or is it just, naturally just, you talk about other things?
Um, yeah, I purposely try to not pump Litecoin or any coin for that matter, because volatility is bad, right? So what happens with like a pump is that people will hear about the coin and actually start buying it at the high, at the peak, and those people will get hurt when it inevitably comes down, right? So you're just kind of it's kind of you're just creating waves, right? It's easy for me to create a wave, easier for me than other people to create a wave in Litecoin price, kind of push it up with like just releasing like good news, kind of like maybe just like talk it up more, and it's not like kind of like um, just stretch it a bit, right? Uh, and then like inevitably the price will come down, and then people get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like so it the price already like is already very volatile even without me doing anything. Like just the past 2 days. Litecoin went up from whatever 60, 70, $70 to like 100, and now it's back to 90, right? A lot of people bought Litecoin at 100 or $105, and now it's at 90, and people lost like 10, 20% of it, which hurt. So yeah,
They
so
don't
I don't
lose
like
if they
to,
don't sell.
yeah. But I mean, and when that happens, people start uh, saying like cursing at me. That happens a lot, right? Just today, I got like quite a few messages, people saying like saying it's all my fault. They lost a lot of money. I mean, uh,
No,
yeah,
no, that's if people go into this with a long-term mentality, they almost so far you haven't lost. It's the day traders that get burnt. It's the people trying to make fiat off of this revolution that really end up getting burnt. So that's what they get for playing with fire, in my opinion. Speaking of the price,
yeah.
Echo, what is the price of a Litecoin?
One Litecoin is worth 87 US dollars and 5 cents.
So when are you gonna go ahead and get yourself one of these Litecoin tattoos?
Um, does that tattoo actually still work?
No, it doesn't. That's my first Bitcoin address up here, and then I got the Litecoin logo. I think you were there in the
Okay.
live chat. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Bitcoin address doesn't work.
No, I think I have to get the skin colored filled in with more of a white because that's like where the search is for the negative space in between the
Yeah.
black. So I think I have to get it filled with white. But this is my very first Bitcoin wallet where I made my first transaction.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. And what I want to say to that is that I don't really need a Litecoin tattoo because like I am Mr. Litecoin.
Exactly. It would be like getting a tattoo of your own face on yourself.
Yeah.
So, I know I want to get wrapping up a little bit. I wanted to see if we can get a little personal. Like, what do you do in your free time when you're not doing Litecoin or crypto or Twitter? Do you play Mortal Kombat or, do you skateboard? What do you do in your free time to have fun and not crypto out?
I watch TV. I like movies.
What's your favorite show?
Um, my favorite movie is Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
So very excited about the new Star Wars coming out. Um, my favorite TV show is Game of Thrones. I
Excellent.
really also really like the books. So
Do you watch
um,
Big Bang Theory at all?
no, no, it's a
They're
bit too stupid for me.
it's like slapstick comedy that tries to sound smart
Yeah.
because they talk in random equations that don't exist. But they're actually going to air an
They're
episode
having one.
tomorrow, talking about Bitcoin, and the price during the episode they announced at 5,000. So I think that's pretty
Oh
funny.
wow. Yeah, I will catch that.
Yeah, it
That
should
should
be
be
on
interesting.
tomorrow or today actually in my time zone.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got into
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, Satoshi already kind of retired, and not retired, we don't know, but on the open doesn't communicate anymore. So if there was one question, if Satoshi Nakamoto's watching this video, what question would you ask him if you could only ask one to get an answer?
Um. Well, first question is what he thinks about Litecoin, right?
Yes.
Does he does he hate it, or does he think it's actually a good complement to Bitcoin? That's something I'd like to know. Um, Another thing, obviously, is what he thinks about the scaling debate, right? Is he a small blocker or is he a big blocker? I think
Yeah.
that's two of the things I'd like to know.
Awesome. I would just ask why Satoshi Nakamoto because I'm sure that is obviously not the real name. Like why? So I have a last question here. This is from I threw like a little Steam it thing for my audience to ask you any question, and at Skiveuss Skivus asked if did Charlie Lee design the logo for Litecoin in MS Paint. There is a L-shaped on the tools icon that looks suspicious.
No, no, definitely not.
Okay. Awesome. So let's wrap things up. Any final thoughts? Anything that you wanted to maybe talk about while we have everybody's attention here? Anything you wanted to make sure we got to discuss and I didn't get to bring up?
Not
Anything
that I
you want
can
to make
think of.
sure people take away from this conversation? If there's one thing that they got at the end of this, what do you want to make sure that they understood about Litecoin?
Well, one thing I always like to tell people is just don't invest more than you can afford to lose. That's always a good advice. I hate to see people like put all their money into Litecoin, and at the peak, and then when it crashes down, which happens a lot, right? Like I expect Bitcoin and Litecoin to go into like a multi-year like bear cycle for with like an 80% drop in price. Like every time it goes up, it comes back down like a lot too. Like Bitcoin went from, I watched Bitcoin when I got into Bitcoin, it was $30. I bought my first Bitcoin from Mike Hearn at $30, and then I watched it drop all the way to $2, right? And that's like a 80%, 90% drop. And then it went up to like 150, and then dropped to like 50, and went up to like 1,000 and dropped to 200. So, and now it's at 10,000 for Bitcoin, right? It could easily go back to 2,000. And yeah, so the worst is you hear about Bitcoin and Litecoin at the high, you put all your money in, or a lot of your money in, and then it drops, and you can't afford the drop, and you sell. So you'll be one of the suckers that bought high and sold low. And yeah, so don't do that. That's my recommendation for people.
You know, I'm all in. That's it's hard to hear you say that because I am all in. I've been all in on crypto for the past at least 12 months. I don't hold US dollar. So it brings me to ask you, do you use cryptocurrencies every day, pay rent, buy lunch and dinner, or do you hold on to fiat money for your daily living and you hodl your crypto?
I use crypto whenever I can. But there's not a lot of places actually support crypto, right? Even Bitcoin. It's kind of it will still take like many years before you can actually easily spend your Bitcoin or Litecoin. So I buy plane tickets with Bitcoin. I buy plane tickets with Litecoin. I buy Amazon gift certificates. So like all my Amazon purchases are with crypto. And yeah, and I regret every Bitcoin and Litecoin I spent.
Yep.
So but I still do it. And yeah, but I mean, everything is still priced in dollars. So until like things are priced in Bitcoin or Litecoin, spending crypto is effectively just selling it for fiat and then using that fiat to buy the stuff you want.
Yeah, I'm
Like
surprised
it's
you didn't
either
bring up
like,
Shift Payments from Coinbase or the BitPay Visa or something, because that's what I use.
yeah, I use that too.
Cool.
Yeah, but like I said, it's basically just you selling, either you selling the coins or you giving the coins to BitPay or Coinbase, and they're selling the coins for you.
Right.
So yeah, so it's like right now spending crypto is not you're not really like it's not really a closed loop.
Right. I like to try to sell large amounts peer to peer to somebody I know is going to hodl rather than to sell on the open exchange to buy something like a car. I'd rather find a hodler, sell my Litecoin to him, then get the car if the dealership won't accept it. It kind of locks in the value still. I don't contribute to the loss of value. So yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Charlie, thank you. Everybody tuned in live. This was awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm out of questions. I don't know what else I could ask. I mean, are there any future events we should keep our eyes out, looking out for? Anything coming our way? Any conferences or any big events?
Nothing in the near future. Yeah, I don't really plan ahead that much.
Sound like me. I wing it. All right, awesome, everyone. That's Charlie Lee, the founder and creator of Litecoin. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show to talk. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I do have a little giveaway planned. I hope you don't mind sticking around for a second. I was giving away 2 Litecoin to my viewers. One person's going to win 1 whole Litecoin. 9 people will win .1 Litecoin, and you will be contacted via email. So I'm going to open up over here, click Draw Winners. We're going to draw 10 winners out of about, I think it said 3,000 people or something. Whoa. That's a lot. All right. And these are the winners. Number 1 right here, you have won 1 whole Litecoin. Congratulations. And as you see your name on the list, you will be contacted. All you have to do is reply to the email with your Litecoin address. Do not email me. I will email you. Congratulations to everybody. All right. Again, thank you, Charlie. Everybody, have a night. Don't forget, click subscribe.